If you are a woman over 50 and you have been waking up on Saturday mornings feeling like you barely slept at all, if your body feels heavy and stiff, if your mind is already racing before your feet even touch the floor, I need to share something with you today that changed everything for me. Not a supplement, not a sleep medication, not another doctor's appointment where someone half your age tells you that what you are feeling is just part of getting older. What I am about to share is a ritual that Jewish women have practiced every Friday night for over 3,000 years. A ritual so powerful that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to understand why it works. And yet, my grandmother Rachel, who lived to 98 years old in perfect clarity of mind, practiced this every single Friday of her life without ever needing a scientist to explain it to her. She just knew. Today, I am going to walk you through this ritual step by step, exactly as it was passed down to me, exactly as I have refined it over 40 years of practicing preventive medicine. And toward the end of this teaching, I am going to share something my grandmother only revealed to women she truly trusted, a small addition to this ritual that she believed was the real reason she never needed a sleeping pill in her entire life. This is one of the 7 Jewish laws of longevity that I have spent 4 decades documenting, and once you understand it, Friday nights will never feel the same again. I want to take you back to a Friday evening in Brooklyn, 1974. I was 16 years old. I'd been studying all week for exams at my school. I was exhausted in the way that only a teenager thinks is exhaustion, the kind you laugh about later when real fatigue finds you in your 40s and 50s. I walked into my grandmother Rachel's kitchen and the whole apartment smelled like challah and roasted chicken and something sweet simmering on the stove, maybe her famous zimmies with carrots and prunes. The counters were already wiped clean. The table was set with her white cloth, the one she had carried from Poland, yellowed at the edges but pressed perfect every week. 2 candles stood waiting, and my grandmother was standing at the sink, washing her hands slowly, deliberately, not rushing, not checking anything, not talking to anyone, just standing there with water running over her fingers, her eyes half closed, her lips moving slightly. I asked her what she was doing, and she looked at me with those dark eyes, the ones that had seen things no person should ever see. And she said, "Sarah Lay, I am letting the week die. Everything it carried, every worry, every sadness. I am washing it away so my body can be born again by morning." I did not understand her then. I was 16. I thought she was being dramatic. It took me almost 30 years, a medical degree from Hadassah, a career in preventive medicine, and a complete collapse of my own health at 45 before I finally understood what Rachel was doing at that sink. She was not being poetic. She was executing a precise biological reset that modern researchers at institutions like Stanford and Harvard are now studying under names like circadian restoration, parasympathetic activation, and cortisol cycling. My grandmother just called it Shabbat. Before I go further, I want you to do something for me right now. Scroll down to the comments and type these words: I choose to rest. Just those 4 words. Because the first step in every one of the 7 laws is intention. You cannot receive what you have not made space for, and those 4 words are your first act of making space. Now, let me tell you what is actually happening inside your body every Friday evening if you are living the way most women over 50 live today. By the time the sun goes down on Friday, your cortisol, the stress hormone that was only designed to spike in moments of real danger, has been elevated for 5 straight days, maybe 6. Maybe it never really came down from last weekend either. Your phone has delivered somewhere between 100 and 200 notifications every single day this week, each one a tiny jolt to your nervous system, a microdose of fight or flight. Your sympathetic nervous system, the part of you that is always scanning for threats, has been running on high since Monday morning, and it does not know how to stop because nothing in your modern environment is telling it to stop. The American Medical Association reported in 2025 that women are twice as likely as men to experience insomnia, and the data is even more striking for women in our age group. Research from the Sleep Foundation shows that sleep disorders affect between 35 and 60% of postmenopausal women. 60%. That means if you are sitting in a room with 10 women your age, 6 of them are not sleeping properly. And the National Council on Aging found that long-term poor sleep can reduce a woman's lifespan by nearly 5 years. 5 years stolen, not by disease, not by accident, but by a body that never learned how to stop. Your doctor may have offered you melatonin, maybe trazodone. Maybe she told you to avoid screens before bed, which is good advice as far as it goes, but it does not go nearly far enough. Because the problem is not just the screen. The problem is that nothing in your week has a hard edge. Nothing says stop. Nothing marks the boundary between the doing and the being. Everything bleeds together Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday, work into evening into weekend, until your nervous system does not know if it is Tuesday at 2 p.m. or Saturday at midnight because the inputs are identical. Your body is always on because your life never turns off. And here is what I discovered when my own health collapsed at 45. The ancient Jewish tradition solved this problem 3,000 years before any neuroscientist was born. The Torah commands in Exodus chapter 20, verse 8, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work." For centuries, scholars debated what this commandment was really about. Was it about obedience? Was it about worship? My grandmother Rachel had a different answer. She told me once God did not need to rest on the seventh day. Sarah Lay. He told us to rest because he knew our bodies would break without it. Not rest like sitting on the couch watching television. Real rest. The kind where you stop producing and start receiving. That is what I discovered in her notebooks when I went back to them at 45. Desperate, exhausted, my hormones wrecked, my memory failing. What I found was not a list of prayers. It was a system, a precise, timed, multisensory protocol for shutting down the stress response and activating the body's repair mechanisms in a single evening. Let me share the historical foundation of what you are about to learn, because understanding where this comes from will help you trust it. Maimonides, the great Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, was both one of the most important Jewish scholars in history and the personal physician to Sultan Saladin of Egypt in the 12th century. In his Regimen of Health, written in 1198, Maimonides prescribed what he called ordered periods of complete cessation from labor and mental exertion, followed by specific sensory practices including aromatic foods, warm water, dim lighting, and the deliberate cultivation of a tranquil spirit. He wrote that a physician who does not instruct his patient in the discipline of rest has failed in his most fundamental duty. 800 years later, researchers at Harvard Medical School published findings showing that structured periods of deliberate rest, what they call intentional downshift, trigger a measurable cascade of neurochemical changes, including decreased cortisol, increased melatonin production, and activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of your nervous system responsible for repair, digestion, and cellular regeneration. What Maimonides prescribed in 1198, Harvard confirmed 8 centuries later. What makes the Jewish approach different from simply telling someone to relax is that it is not a suggestion. It is a structure. It has a beginning, a sequence, specific sensory elements, and a clear boundary. Your body does not respond to vague intentions. If I tell you to relax, your cortisol does not care. But if I give your body a consistent, multisensory signal that arrives at the same time every week, the same smells, the same light, the same sounds, the same physical actions, your nervous system begins to recognize that signal the way a child recognizes a lullaby. It knows what comes next, and it begins to let go before you even try. This is the architecture of the Friday night ritual. Today I'm sharing one of the 7 Jewish laws of longevity. This is law number 1, the law of sacred rest. It is the one that most women over 50 have never truly practiced, even if they think they know what rest means. And once you understand it, you will see your body differently. Here is the ritual, step by step, exactly as my grandmother practiced it, refined with what I have learned in 4 decades of medicine. I am going to walk you through the preparation, the 4 elements you will need, and the 6 steps of the practice itself. First, the preparation. This begins before sunset on Friday. In Jewish tradition, Shabbat begins 18 minutes before sundown. I want you to think of this moment the way you think of a doorway. You are not just ending your week, you are crossing a threshold. The physical preparation is simple. Sometime in the late afternoon on Friday, you clean your space. Not a deep clean, a surface clean. Clear the kitchen counter. Put away the papers on the table. Fold the blanket on the couch. What you are doing is giving your eyes and your nervous system a visual signal of order. Clutter is interpreted by the brain as unfinished business. Research from the Princeton Neuroscience Institute found that visual clutter competes for your attention, reduces working memory, and increases cortisol. When you clear your space, you are not just tidying. You are telling your brain that the tasks are done. The work is complete. Now, the 4 elements. You will need candles, real ones, not electric, not a phone screen set to flicker, beeswax or unscented, 2 of them. You will need bread, something you baked or bought that is whole, warm if possible. In our tradition, this is challah, but any good, honest bread will do. You will need wine or grape juice, 1 cup, nothing more, and you will need warm water, enough to wash your hands deliberately, slowly, with intention. These 4 elements are not random. Each one engages a different sensory channel. The candles engage sight and shift your visual cortex from the blue light spectrum of screens to the warm amber spectrum that signals melatonin production. The bread engages smell and taste simultaneously, and the scent of warm bread has been shown in studies from the Monal Chemical Senses Center to activate the orbitofrontal cortex, the same region associated with comfort, safety, and emotional regulation. The wine or grape juice engages taste in a way that is deliberate and slow, 1 cup, savored, not consumed. And the warm water engages touch, the most primitive and powerful calming input your nervous system can receive. Maimonides wrote in his Laws of Human Dispositions that a person should wash before the evening meal with warm water, for warmth opens the channels of the body and allows the spirit to settle. Modern hydrotherapy research confirms that warm water on the hands and wrists activates vagal tone, the measure of your parasympathetic nervous system's ability to calm you down. Here is the sequence. Step 1, 18 minutes before sunset, or at a consistent time you choose every Friday. Stop all work. Close the laptop. Put the phone in another room, not on silent, not face down, in another room entirely. This is the boundary. This is the hard edge your week has been missing. In Jewish law, this cessation is called shvita, a complete stopping, not a pause, not a break, a full stop. Step 2, wash your hands with warm water, slowly. Feel the water on each finger. My grandmother used to say that water remembers, and what you wash away on Friday night stays washed away until the new week begins. You are not sanitizing your hands, you are marking a transition. In the tradition of the mikveh, the ritual immersion bath, water is the agent of renewal. The Talmud in Tractate Berashot teaches that one who washes before a meal invites the Shekinah, the divine presence, to the table. Whether you understand this spiritually or biologically, the effect is the same. You are signaling to every cell in your body that something has changed. Step 3. Light the 2 candles. In Jewish tradition, the woman of the house lights the Shabbat candles and draws the light toward her face 3 times with her hands, covering her eyes as she does so. This is not decorative. When you cover your eyes and open them to candlelight, you are forcing your pupils to dilate in dim light, shifting your visual system from the sympathetic alertness of daylight to the parasympathetic calm of evening. You are manually flipping a neurological switch. My grandmother would stand there for 30 seconds after she uncovered her eyes, just looking at the flames, breathing slowly. She was not praying in that moment. She was arriving. Step 4. Take the bread in your hands. Smell it. There is a traditional blessing over bread in Judaism, the hamotzi. Blessed are you who brings forth bread from the earth. But even if you do not say the blessing, I want you to hold that bread and smell it before you eat it. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds. This is not symbolic. Olfactory input travels directly to the amygdala and hippocampus, bypassing the rational cortex entirely. The smell of bread is one of the most powerful safety signals the human brain can receive because it is encoded across thousands of generations as the smell of home, of provision, of enough. Step 5. Pour 1 cup of wine or grape juice. Hold it in both hands. In Jewish tradition, we say the kiddush, the sanctification over wine, which begins with the words from Genesis, and the heavens and the earth were completed, and all their hosts, and on the 7th day God completed his work which he had done, and he rested. You do not need to recite this in Hebrew, but I want you to understand what is happening when you hold that cup. You are holding completion. You are holding the statement that what was done this week is enough, that you are enough. Drink slowly, 1 cup, not for intoxication. Resveratrol in red wine has been studied extensively for its anti-inflammatory properties, but the real medicine here is the act of savoring. Slow, deliberate consumption activates the ventral vagal complex, the newest and most sophisticated branch of your nervous system, the one responsible for what Stephen Porges at Indiana University calls the social engagement system, the state in which healing happens. Step 6. Sit down to eat a real meal at a table with no screens. If you are alone, that is fine. You are not alone in the way that matters. You are in the company of every woman who has done this exact sequence for 3,000 years. Eat slowly, taste your food. The Talmud in Tractate Berashot teaches that one who eats without awareness is as one who eats fire, meaning that rushing through food creates inflammation, disrupts digestion, and disconnects the body from its own signals of nourishment. After the meal, do not check your phone. Do not turn on the news. Read something if you wish. Sit in silence if you can. Go to bed when you are tired, not when the show ends, not when the scrolling stops, but when your body says it is time. And here is what my grandmother only shared with the women she truly trusted. After the meal, before she went to bed, she would place both hands flat on her chest, close her eyes, and say 1 sentence out loud. She would say, "Today I am complete." That is all. 5 words. She told me that most women go to bed carrying the day on their chest like a stone. Every task they did not finish, every call they did not make, every worry they could not solve. And all of that weight presses down on the heart and tells the body to stay alert, Stay vigilant. Do not sleep. There is still work to do. Those 5 words, spoken out loud so your own ears hear them, are a direct instruction to your nervous system. You are complete. There is nothing left to do. You can let go now. I started doing this at 45 when everything else had failed. The first Friday, I felt foolish. The second Friday, I cried. By the fourth Friday, I slept through the night for the first time in 2 years. By the 12th Friday, my fasting cortisol had dropped measurably. My doctor wanted to know what I had changed. I told her I was practicing Shabbat. She did not know what to write in my chart. I want to be honest with you about something because honesty is part of what I owe you. There was a period in my early 50s when I stopped doing this. I got busy. I was traveling for conferences. I told myself I could skip a week, then 2, then a month. And within 6 weeks, every symptom I had fought so hard to resolve came back. The fatigue, the brain fog, the 3 a.m. waking, the joint stiffness that made me feel 80 instead of 52. My grandmother had warned me about this. She used to say, Sarah Lay, Shabbat is not a reward for a good week. It is what makes a good week possible. She was right. And what I understand now, both as a doctor and as a woman who has lived this, is that we are living in a moment in history when the human nervous system is under more sustained assault than at any other time in civilization. We carry devices that deliver hundreds of stress microdoses every day. We are connected to the suffering of the entire world in real time. We never stop receiving input, and the ancient rabbis, 3,000 years ago, looked at human nature and said, you must stop. Not because stopping is nice, because without stopping, the body cannot heal. The Talmud says more than Israel has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept Israel. I believe this with everything I know as a physician and as a granddaughter. This practice kept my grandmother alive and sharp and joyful for 98 years in a body that had endured what no body should endure, and it is available to you this Friday. Let me leave you with 3 things to remember. First, the boundary is the medicine. It is not the candles or the bread or the wine alone. It is the hard stop. The moment you say the week is over and you mean it. Without that boundary, your nervous system never resets. Second, consistency is everything. This works because your body learns the pattern. After 4 to 6 weeks of the same ritual at the same time, your cortisol will begin to drop before you even light the candles. Your body will learn that Friday evening means safety. Third, you do not have to be Jewish to practice this. This wisdom comes from the Jewish tradition, and I honor that source with my whole heart. But the biology it activates is universal. Your nervous system does not check your ancestry before it responds to candlelight and warm bread and deliberate rest. In our tradition, the body is not yours to neglect. It is a gift given to you in trust. Tselem Elohim, made in the image of the divine. To care for it is a sacred act. The book of Proverbs tells us, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. What I have given you today is a way to uncrush your spirit one Friday at a time. My grandmother used to say that these practices do not work like pills, one at a time, on demand. They work like a garden, all 7 laws together, tended with consistency. Today I have shared one, but there is another law that must always be practiced alongside this one. Without it, what I have taught you today is only half as powerful. I will share it soon. For now, try this Friday. Just this one. Set the table, light the candles, wash your hands, hold the bread, pour the cup. And before you sleep, place your hands on your chest and say out loud, "Today, I am complete." Then notice how you feel on Saturday morning. I think you will understand why Jewish women have been doing this for 3,000 years. If this teaching spoke to you, subscribe and press the bell so you do not miss what comes next. Leave a comment telling me what your Friday nights look like right now. Share this with a woman who needs to hear it. And if you learned something today, write in the comments, "I choose to rest," because you deserve to. Until next time, L'chaim, to life.